Hey gang, it's Uncle Jake here. I just got back from San Diego Comic-Con and was finally able to take a crack at my custom Blast Attack. I've had this figure since I got my quarterly shipment, but the way my design worked, I needed some parts and I knew I could get them at San Diego. So I've been waiting for the show to get everything, and here it is. Got back and realized the vision, and it all turned out pretty well. As far as I'm concerned, my Blast Attack is now the standard Blast Attack. Uh, Give you a little background on this. I'm sure you guys are familiar with MOTU and MOTU Classics, but since 2008, they've been saying, Mattel's been saying that these figures would not have any action features, which we all knew going in, and we're all pretty cool with that. I mean, we're here mostly for the sculpting, but they've snuck some in here and there, and it's been great. It's been fun when they've worked them in when they could. But when the prototypes, the early samples of Blast Attack came out, and we found out that there were no special features, no action features for this figure, it just, to me, that it represented the biggest fail of the whole line. Okay, I mean, back in the '80s, Blast Attack had that split down the middle of the torso, right in half, really cool feature, which some people were expecting in the classics version. I wasn't really expecting that. I looking back at like Modulok when they didn't do this the break at the waist, and they said they wanted to keep the waist articulation and the chest articulation. I was down with that. I said fine, but at least have some breakaway features for the limbs or the chest or something. With existing tooling that they have. So when they didn't even go to that easy level, for a feature, it just was so shocking to me. So I've been planning to do this, and it all worked out. As far as I'm concerned, mine is the standard one that I'm going to be using. I might even get rid of the Mattel one. I think I only need one Blast Attack at this point. So let's get at it. I mean, what you're looking at right here on the left is Mattel. On the right is my custom. All right, pretty much look all the same, right? Now, what Mattel has offered to us in this figure, as far as a blast away feature, let me get rid of his weapons. I mean, you've got basically the standard head pop off. Boom. There you go. That's it. What I discovered, some of you might have known this, but you can actually take off the hands very easily. They just pop right off. They can pop back in. So that is your blown up Blast Attack. Two hands on the ground and a head, right? Exciting, right? Pretty simple. You get a lot more with what I've done, and it takes some skill. I'm not the greatest guy in the world. I'm not all that talented. I'm not a major customizer, but if I can do it, I'm sure you guys can too. Let's get rid of the weapons. All right, come on. All right, so like I said, looks just like them. We've got all the major articulation points. Hasn't lost anything, right? Arms spin, go out and in, go out and in. It's just like a regular Blast Attack, right? But one of the most simplest, obvious choices they could have done. All right, now if you're going to not do the split down the chest, how about a split in the middle? Simple as that. Okay, this came with King Hiss, both versions, right? And this is why I was waiting for Comic Con, because I was waiting for my Rotar and Twistoid to get the parts. But there you go, split in half, right? I like this a little bit better. Der Waffenmeister online, I seen he did he did sort of the split down the torso just like the '80s version, and it looks great. It looks great. It's awesome. But to me, this is sort of the standard breakaway feature in the line, so I'm happy to keep that. So let's break them apart some more. Boom. Optic arms. Optic arms. Gone. They come off. All right. Let's go along with the standard Mattel actions. You got the head that pops off. We can break away the hands. And then on top of that, torso armor comes off just like that if you want to do that. So I mean, look at all these parts you got. To me, that's a Blast Attak. I don't know if you can see, but you know, look at all this. Come on. You got 2 hands, the head, 2 arms, waist and legs, armor, chest. 8 parts. All right. To me, that is a blown up figure. Right. Now, how did I go about this? You got to have some skill. All right. It takes some practice for sure. You know, you got to get yourself a hair dryer and a Dremel for starters. Get yourself some super glue and a lot of time. Then you just need the parts. All right. Pretty much heat up your Blast Attak. At the torso, you know, go at the armor. That's where you start. And what I found was this split comes apart pretty easily. Okay. As you can see, it even goes back. I mean, I didn't have to do anything with this. I mean, it pretty much fits just like it should. And I can't believe that they didn't at least do that, because we haven't seen this Horde, you know, trooper armor chest used on anything else. And the fact that they hide it under this bulky armor and you can't even see that was pretty annoying. So, boom, the armor comes pretty much straight off. Then you just got to heat this guy up, you know, pretty hot, go at the neck, screwdriver down the neck, and slowly work it off. As you can see, it's not completely fused back together. You still got a line, but hey, I can live with that, right? Get it open, and what you see here is I've just taken, I think it was from an optic. You know, you just get the standard sockets from an an optic figure, right? And then you just gotta go into the chest, work those guys in, a lot of super glue, and you can get them to stay in there. As far as the bottom part of the waist, you gotta pop that out. You know, these two separate. The bottom of the waist, you can saw down the middle, crack that open, because you know, it doesn't matter what the top of this thing looks like, you can't see it anyway. Crack it open, and then get yourself a this attachment from a King Hiss, or from, you know, say a Rotar or whatever, and it easily fits in there. You glue that in. I mean, boom, it's done. Glue that in, glue this piece together, glue the chest over it, get the the neck piece back in there, and glue it up, and you're good to go on your torso, right? As far as the arms go, that was a little tougher. What I hate is I hate painting, because the paint I never get to find that I can paint and have it stay. It always chips, it always cracks, and especially on the joints, it always runs off, and it never works for me. So what I didn't want to do was take an optic arm and then paint over it. And you could do that. You can stick right in perfectly. But what I decided to do was go at it with my Dremel, drill down the arms, and basically create, the attachments. They're a little sloppy, but I mean, you can't tell. When they're plugged in, you can't even see. And they fit, pretty darn well. Like I said, not perfect. You kind of got to go for the, what is it, like a hexagon sort of shape, 6-sided if you can. But I got these on the first tries. Okay, this wasn't like I was doing a lot of practice. It took some time, but I got it down, and they snap in pretty well. I mean, they look. I mean, they're not falling out. Now, if you do a lot of movement, yeah, they can pop out, right? This one's the left is a little looser than the right, and that's just obviously I ground it down too much. But for purposes of display, and I mean honestly, to move around, it's pretty good. And I'll take the occasional pop out of the arm to have a pop out arm, right? And as far as the waist goes, this was the trickiest part. I thought this was going to be pretty easy, but what I ended up having to do, and again, because I didn't want to paint anything, I popped off the waist off a Blast Attak. I went at the waist, sawing, right? Get it split, and then I just dremeled the middle out, and from a Rotar, I got the little connector there, popped it out, and it just took some time and patience and dremeling, I went at it, and I got the connector in there, got the waist back together, and glued it up, And then I had to do a little alteration on the waist here because by that point it was a little wider because of the rotard piece. It wasn't going back together perfectly, but some glue and a little bit of a paint job on there. I didn't really even need to do it. As you see here, when you split it, I mean, that's from the figure. I mean, that yellow paint right there, that gold paint is from the figure. It was from, the waist when I popped it off. So, I mean, nothing's ever going to be perfect, but I can live with all this stuff. And as far as reassembly, I mean, it's pretty simple. It's get the chest armor back on. Okay, there we go, pretty good. It's probably best to tackle the hands first, because that's the tightest squeeze. All right, come on, get in there. There we go. All right. Boom, done. Done. Head. Boom, and then the waist. Ta-da, done. Like I said, everything spins. And if you can take, like I said, the occasional pop off of the arm, that's the only thing I'm dealing with. I'm sure if I did this a couple more times, I could get that attachment to fit in that socket really, a lot tighter. But to me, this is the figure. I mean, this works. This is my Blast Attak, and it's not the end of the world. I mean, these are just toys, people, but God, it's so frustrating to think that Mattel could have done this, that the designers didn't go, oh, let me think here. Yeah, we're using the optic shoulders anyway. Why don't we just use the optic attachment to the chest? Or we've got the king his split in the waist. Well, he can't split down the torso, but we'll split him at the waist, right? Whatever. So, I mean, this didn't take me but a day, all said and done on the work. But it can be done. And I'm sure some of you might want, have other ideas. But this is how I tackled it, and it works. Like I said, I'm happy with the guy. So that's about it. Hope this was informative and fun, and I wasn't too boring. All right, take it easy.